First up at 10, could it bring closure to the family of a man killed in that deadly Clearwater Ferry crash that happened in April? Charges have been filed now against the boater who crashed into the ferry and also the ferry captain. Now, Jeff Knight was arrested last night on felony charges, leaving the scene, and the ferry captain, we learned today, also faces a misdemeanor for failing to maintain a proper stern light. That's a white light off the back of the boat. Fox 13's Genevieve Curtis is live in Clearwater tonight with the very latest on this. Genevieve.
Yeah, Mark, after a 3-month investigation, Jeff Knight was booked into jail on charges for what FWC says he did after the Clearwater Ferry crash. And after multiple questions were posed to officials today, it is clear much of what happened that night has yet to be made public.
Our hope is that the conclusion of this investigation can be the first step in bringing closure and justice to his family and all those affected by this event.
A conclusion to an investigation setting the stage for a legal fight over the Clearwater Ferry crash. Florida Fish and Wildlife investigators arrested Jeffrey Knight Monday at the airport. He returned from the Bahamas to face 8 charges of fleeing the scene of a boat accident with injury or death. 45 people were on the ferry in April when Knight's boat crashed into the back of it. Investigators say Knight's charges are for the 7 seriously injured victims and Jose Castro, who died.
My daughter's missing every day. There's no explanation. There's no peace. There's no happiness that can fill the hole that he's left.
Castro's family says they appreciate the felony charges after 3 months of wondering if there would be accountability for their loss.
My brother was a happy person. He was an amazing father, a wonderful son. He didn't deserve to die like this.
Investigators say they spent months going through the evidence, which includes almost 50 witness interviews and multiple reconstructions.
We conducted a reconstruction on both vessels completely, mapping it with some sophisticated technology and then reconstructing some of those crash sites digitally. We also conducted a reconstruction in reality where we were able to test drive the vessel that was in question.
But when we asked, they declined to say how fast Knight was traveling, though he is charged with a misdemeanor for failing to maintain a safe speed and proper lookout.
So we brought that charge of safe speed because the navigation rule that governs safe speed says that you should be traveling at a safe speed to avoid or attend to a risk of collision. And based on the fact that a collision did occur, that navigation rule was violated.
His most serious charges are not for the crash itself, but for his actions after. FWC says he fled. Knight's attorneys have argued and again in a statement today say that Knight stayed on the scene for 11 minutes. FWC says there was no evidence that Knight's boat was taking on water, and they offered some insight into how they arrived at the charges.
A lot of 911 call evidence revealed that there was a significant change in the demeanor of what was occurring, and there was an attempt to leave the scene, which was then tracked down. The Pinellas County Sheriff's Office ultimately stopped Mr. Knight a good distance from the scene, and the discussion he had with those deputies did not indicate any desire to remain at the scene, and that's what led us to the charges we have today.
And Knight's attorneys have long blamed the ferry for not having its stern lights on. In response to the FWC charge, a spokesperson for the captain, a family spokesperson for the ferry captain, Dennis Kimmerer, told us that anyone who operates a boat knows that malfunctions can occur in transit and that a single light being out should not result or absolve another operator from operating at safe speeds. They say the FWC charge that the captain is now facing is without merit. Mark.
And Genevieve, let me ask you about the felonies here, these 8 counts and the prison time, because I know there's a little bit of confusion here. It's basically the same charge, just 8 different times. So if he is acquitted, he would, in unlikelihood, be acquitted of all of them. If he's convicted, he'd be convicted of all of them. So if he is convicted of all of them, because it's still just one action, albeit 8 times because the 1 death and the 7 that were hurt, how much time is he looking at potentially facing?
Yes, so the individual charge itself carries a maximum penalty of up to 5 years in prison. So if you look at the totality of the 8 charges he's facing, in theory, he's facing 40 years in prison. Now, I did get a chance to ask prosecutors if they were planning on taking this to trial or if they were looking to plead this out. They said right now they were just focused on filing these charges, and how it all plays out we will have to wait and see. And that was the last question that we were able to ask at the press conference before it ended.
Yeah,
Mark?
Just another chapter here. By no means the end, for sure. Genevieve, thanks much. And as Genevieve did just mention here, Jeff Knight's attorney, Kevin Hazlett, did release a statement today disputing the claim that Knight fled the scene, remember? He also said the failure of that ferry boat to have its stern light on is at the heart of the collision. In fact, he said, quote, "It's ironic and frankly outrageous that Knight was vilified while the ferry was operating in complete violation of federal safety standards." He called it the maritime equivalent of a school bus driving at night with no taillights and blaming the driver who couldn't see it. Now, Hazlett also says they look forward to setting the record straight before an impartial jury of Mr. Knight's peers and that he remains deeply saddened by the events of that night. We have complete coverage on our website with a timeline of events, reaction, and the full statement from Knight's attorney and the ferry captain's family as well. Just head over to the Fox local app.